When Sonic Colors was first announced, I thought it would be some DS game teaching kids about colors and paint. Remember these? I wouldn't put it past them, but my expectations went up as soon as I learned what it was about. Pretty much take Sonic Unleashed, remove the Werehog and any other playable character, and add power-ups. With this concept going forward, how could I not look forward to it? Then you take your first look at the actual gameplay to see it looks like it's from the 360, and you're ready to throw down the cash to reserve it. After getting the game and playing through it, I feel confident saying this. It is not the best 3D Sonic game, but it is the best Sonic game to come out since the Genesis went into console retirement.
What does that even mean? I don't know, something doesn't seem right with that.
Eggman, Robotnik, or even better,
who they call Baldy Nosehair.
Baldy Nosehair? That's the best thing I've heard all day.
is up to no good again. He's been kidnapping dwarf planets, capturing the aliens called Wisps. No, not those. Those aren't even aliens. And harnessing their hyper-Gohan energy to power his mind control machines. Of course, it's hard not to notice this, so he disguises the planets as his amusement park to make it look innocent. Eggman, who are you really trying to fool? We all know that amusement parks are nothing but overpriced death traps with gift shops.
And they've got shopping here too?
Thankfully, Sonic knows that when Eggman is doing something, it usually means trouble, and once he finds out that he's up to no good, he won't rest until he stops McNosehair's plan.
I'm totally calling him McNosehair.
The level objective is virtually unchanged from just about any other Sonic game. Go from point A to point B. Point B is either a gold ring or a Wisp container that you need to destroy. Throw back to classic Sonic games for the win. The gameplay switches from 2D to 3D, and the 3D sections have two different parts, the Freeform and the Quick Step. I don't have much to say about the 2D sections other than the fact that they work well and evenly balance running and platforming. The Quick Step sections are basically the same from Sonic Unleashed. Actually, the game is basically the spiritual successor to Unleashed's daytime levels, with some slight changes. For example, the push the button to make it to the better path is the same, only it's just the A button, and you'll know it's coming when you're in the middle of a long jump and the action starts to slow down. And of course, there's the drift, multiple paths, this guide, menu sound, and 2D to 3D gameplay transition. The freeform parts are something I'll go over later. Sonic retains many of his moves: jump, homing attack, slide, stomp, drift, and wall-to-wall jump, which is done by holding the control stick either left or right in one direction only and pressing A. Let's just say it's simplified to make it easier to perform. Works for me. The new moves are the double jump by pressing A twice, and charging up a push to move boxes. The homing attack is also performed by pressing A while in the air, but only works when a red cursor appears above a selected target. Sonic can perform a double jump and then perform a homing attack. He can even home in on targets if they're above him. Because of this, you cannot use a homing attack boost, but you can still get a boost by pressing B in the air if the lower bar is empty. Oh yeah, that bar and circle are used for your new abilities. When you break open a small capsule that has a Wisp held inside, you'll be able to perform a special move. There's a total of 8 different colored Wisps. The white Wisp, which looked like blue to me, are also found in certain enemies. They allow Sonic to perform his boost. It's pretty self-explanatory and works just like it does in any other Sonic game that has it. This is the only Wisp move to be used by pressing the B button, and you can use it as long as that bar isn't empty. The yellow Wisp turns Sonic into a so you can go through dirt with ease to uncover new paths or items. The Cyan Wisp transforms Sonic into a just aim with a control stick, then let go, and Sonic will fire himself off with incredible speed and power. You can also bounce off walls, prisms, or into specific areas when you hit one of these cables. The blue Wisp causes Sonic to become a you destroy minor enemies, certain boxes, and turn blue rings into blue cubes, and vice versa. The green Wisp allows Sonic to another self-explanatory ability, just press A to hover and press B to have Sonic do the ring dash. The orange Wisp sends Sonic straight up in the sky like a rocket! You can't control the rocket, but you can free fall after it launches. You can also press B to fall faster. Pink Wisp gives Sonic with this you can clean the walls and platforms and break open certain boxes. Finally, the purple Wisp has Sonic go into a frenzy! You destroy anything you come into contact with and grow larger after you destroy a certain amount of objects. The power-ups are best used around the areas you pick them up. You can hold on to them, but for the best results, use them in the area you got them. To activate them, simply swing the Wii Remote or nunchuck downward. The circle tells you which colored Wisp you have. With the yellow and pink Wisp, you can hold down the B button to go a little faster. With the exception of the white Wisp, you cannot hold on to more than one colored Wisp at a time. If you do, you'll kick the Wisp you were holding out of your body. If you made a mistake and want to get the Wisp back that you are holding, simply touch it again before it disappears. However, if you use a colored wisp and pick up another one, you can use it after the current wisp finishes. Also note that with the exception of the white wisp, all the wisps give you full power to perform their ability when you pick them up. The worlds in this game are a sight to behold, from the beautiful, to the eye candy, to actual candy. The idea of having an amusement park as the main location was a brilliant move. It allows for more creativity than just the standard levels we've seen and played through. And from someone who's been going to Disneyland since I was 2 days old, I can honestly say I love these locations and the feeling I get from them. There's Main Street, Fantasyland, Tomorrowland.
I know you're trying to be clever with this whole amusement park pun thing, but it's just coming off lame.
Fine, I'll save them for Epic Mickey. There's the Aquarium, Sweet Mountain, the Asteroid Coaster, and Terminal Velocity, plus the Sonic Simulator where you can play through the specifically made areas for co-op or by yourself. And even as yourself with the Mii's. Okay, that's just creepy, I'll stick with Sonic. Water elements return in the aquarium world. You can grab air bubbles, use these fish for protection, jump multiple times, or just avoid it altogether by boosting on top of the water. From time to time, you'll find yourself on these moving bouncers. They do a good job of keeping up with you as long as you don't go too fast. There are 5 special rings in each act, except in Terminal Velocity and during the boss fights. After collecting a certain amount, you open up a new part in the Sonic Simulator. When you collect one, you don't have to worry about collecting it again. You can pick one up, then come back and get the others later. If you collect all of them and beat all of the Sonic Simulators, you'll be able to unlock Super Sonic! And you can use them for any level, except the boss fights. Each world has about 6 acts and a boss fight. Unless you're in Terminal Velocity, then you have 2 acts and a final boss. Each world also has 3 different variations of its own music piece. Some acts do repeat the same sections from Act 1, but there are some new obstacles to keep it from being too noticeable. After each act and boss fight, except for the very last act, you'll be ranked on how well you did. Your time, rings, bonuses, and color bonuses are what you're judged on. Here's a tip, it's okay to sacrifice time to get color bonuses, but don't go overboard since there is a time limit that prevents you from getting more bonuses. The lowest rank is a D, the highest is an S. As mentioned earlier, the game has a lot of memorable and breathtaking levels, and thankfully, the exact same thing can be said for the music. It's almost impossible to not find a single track from this game that you'll want to listen to over and over again. From the relaxing, to the peppy, to the adrenaline rush. While I don't love or hate the main theme, the orchestrated version of it during the final part of the final boss is just wow. Speaking of bosses, most of them are, heck, who am I kidding, all the bosses are easy. But there are a couple of them I enjoy taking apart. It's also a nice touch that some of them are based on rides, such as Ferris wheels and a pirate ship, even if you fight them twice. While the story won't win any Best of awards, it's simplistic enough that there isn't a problem to just go along with it. There's nothing confusing, no plot twist, and no plot holes. Even better, they got the writer of Mad World and Happy Tree Friends to add something that has been missing from the Sonic games. A sense of humor. For the most part, the humor is pretty well done.
I think I gloated so hard I pulled a muscle.
The mouse man said to wrangle every piece of this mess. When you consider what we're doing from a robot's point of view, it's actually pretty impressive.
Don't think about it.
Feeling ship-shape with me new voice chip I am. I'm begging your pardon, Squire, but me and the baby are gonna sail off and search for that lover Sonic. Arr!
I think that's the wrong chip.
Really? Are you sure he doesn't normally speak in pirate?
Oh yeah, I guess I should bring this up too before I get too many questions regarding why I didn't talk about it, but there's been a change to the voice actors. Sonic is now voiced by Roger Smith. While he's the deepest sounding Sonic voice so far, it's not something to complain about, and since Sonic seems a little different in this game, it fits. I mean, when was the last time you heard Sonic speaking an acronym?
Hey, Tails, it's the BBBE. Best boss beating ever.
Tails is voiced by Kate Higgins and fits the part perfectly, and Eggman is voiced by Yosemite Sam.
I reckon I will.
Nah, just kidding. It's still Mike Pollock and he's still great. Sonic Colors may sound like a pretty package and the graphics may have caught your attention at first glance, but there are a few issues with this game. The Freeform 3D sections that I mentioned earlier are by far the weakest part of the game. The controls are sloppy, and the designs are just plain lazy. It feels like you're running through very tight corridors with little multiple paths to be found. Most of the time it's just running with rings scattered around. If it wasn't for the boost that attracts the rings, you would have a very difficult time trying to get them. This is precisely why I said it's not the best 3D Sonic game, because not all of the 3D sections are great.
Is that better?
Like a million times better. Thank you.
Most of the acts are short and are only there to make use of the Wisp powers. A lot of people seem to have an issue with the Wisp in general, but I didn't have that much of a problem with any of them except for some slight control issues with the spikes, drill, and handling the frenzy in 3D environments. While it's great to have Supersonic playable in any level during a 3D game, to me it just doesn't feel all that great. Sure, there's the unlimited boost and the invincibility, but he just doesn't feel all that fast. He also can't double jump, and you can't use any of the Wisp powers. Some of those special rings can be a real hassle to find. Look at that! If I wasn't scanning the tops, I would have missed this! Some of them you need to keep a really good lookout for those secret paths. Am I the only one that got annoyed with these little tiny bumps on the road? They're so small you can't even see them until you hit them. Even Supersonic can't get over them, and he's not even touching the ground! For a while, I did have a problem with his jumping in 2D. For some reason, it felt a little too hard to get him to jump precisely where I wanted him to go. It felt as if he had too much momentum in his jumps. I got the hang of it later on, but it did cost me a lot of lives at the beginning. Am I the only one that's upset that there's no sound test for this game? The music in this game is absolutely gorgeous. Why is there no sound test? Most of the other console Sonic games have had a sound test, so why was this one left out? Speaking of music, I couldn't help but notice that some tunes have some parts that are reminiscent from other games. If you're playing through the aquarium level and the first thing you think of after hearing the music is Ape Escape, you're not alone. This next one I'll let you judge for yourself. And then there's the gameplay comparison. I can ignore the drill since you can move around and fight enemies and go faster, but this just screams Mario Galaxy. Did anyone also happen to notice this comparison as well? How about this one? Sonic, dude, old friend, I have no problem when games are borrowing elements from other games as long as it's done well, and you do it well. But you're Sonic the freaking Hedgehog, you don't need to do this. Don't you have any shame?
There's no shame in it. Well, maybe a little shame.
But aren't you worried that someone might take legal action against you?
No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me!
I wish I had that attitude towards using copyrighted material. Oh yeah, the cutscenes. As previously stated, the humor in the game can be quite funny, but sometimes it's just...
Hey, did somebody here order a clobbering? Are you sure? It says somebody ordered an extra large clobbering topped with everything. Okay, tell you what. I can't take this thing back, so I'll give you an extra large clobbering for nothing. Hope you're hungry.
Hey Sonic, remember what you said to me about the whole amusement park pun thing?
Touché.
Thankfully you can skip them if you want, but the best humor in the game is something you'll most likely always end up skipping. I love these announcements, but you have to stop and listen to them, otherwise you won't get the whole joke. And even then it can be a little hard to hear. If that was a reference to the Main Street Electrical Parade, then this game is automatic win, just like Moonwalking Sonic here. You may also occasionally get a few cheap deaths whenever you're being sent off on a long jump because you didn't hit the A button at that split second you found out you needed to. You'll learn from your mistake real fast, but only after it costs you a few lives. And I'm just gonna bring this up real quick. Leaderboards are worthless because of this. Overall, if you've ever enjoyed a 2D or a 3D Sonic game, then you at least have to play this one. The 3D parts are poorly done, but the game is mostly made up of 2D sections and quick steps, so don't worry about it. I felt that the Wisps were made to enhance the platforming and not the speed of the game, and with them you can find new areas, though the lack of a sound test is odd. Putting Sonic in an amusement park seems like the perfect match to go along with his roller coaster-like moments, and I do love the setting. This Sonic game had more potential than any other 3D Sonic game to come out in years, and, well, I was very close to giving this a 5 out of 5. So very, very close. If they could have put a little more thought into the 3D parts and made the controls a little more tighter, then you would have had a Sonic game that rivaled his 16-bit days. A 4 out of 5. A couple of flaws, but overall a good game.